Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for having us. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time up here because I don't want to capitalize on the Sting team's presentation. I think you'll probably enjoy them much more than you'll enjoy me. But I do want to kind of give you a brief overview of what's happening at the Sheriff's Office, and we'll talk a little bit about crime statistics, since there's this rampant belief out there that crime is out of control in Salida, which is absolutely not supported by the numbers. First of all, the Sheriff's Office is in the middle of a public safety restoration plan, board supported, board funded, so you can thank Supervisor Terry Withrow for making public safety restoration his highest priority. We are right now working to rebuild the levels of service and staffing we were forced to cut in the middle of economic chaos. So to kind of give you an idea of what's happened with specific to deputy sheriffs and their presence on the street. In 2006, we had 215 sworn, allocated, funded positions for deputy sheriffs. At our lowest point, we had 140. That's how many we got rid of or shed in order to balance our budget because of the economic chaos or crisis that occurred literally nationwide. And typically in economic recessions, public safety's bulletproof, but we ended up stripping out 25% of our resources, funding, and staffing. Right now, today, we're at 172 allocated funded positions, with about 156 of those filled. The academy is back up and running. We are out at the Sheriff's Regional Training Center. We have 13 bodies in that academy right now today. It is a multi-agency partnership, just like it was before. So the academy serves an 8-county region and all law enforcement agencies in that county. So you have recruits or trainees that are represented from Tuolumne County, from the Modesto Police Department, and from other law enforcement agencies as well. We're also in the middle of $160 million worth of public safety facility construction. We're the only county out of 58 that has taken advantage of lease bond revenue funding, a partnership with the state, because of public safety realignment. That started back in 2011 when the United States Supreme Court upheld a lower federal court's ruling that ordered the state of California to reduce its state prison population from 170% of design capacity to 137.5% of design capacity. In real numbers, that means we got 1,660 people back here in Stanislaus County from state prison that are now the responsibility of the Sheriff's Office and our local probation office. They're on what's called post-release community supervision. So on top of everybody else, the probation department monitors and supervises. We had that additional demographic that came back. And, part of realignment, part of the vision of realignment means the expansion of both in and out of custody programming opportunities. So educational, vocational, rehabilitative services have been expanded. And that's the reason why we have this opportunity to partner with the state and take advantage of funding to build local facilities. So we've got 552 new beds under construction on the Hackett Road campus, a 72-bed medical mental health care unit, because we all know that mental health care right now is a crisis across this nation. And we also, in addition to that, we built a day reporting center, which is 14,000 square feet of education space for out-of-custody programming. And on top of that, we just dedicated and activated a brand new coroner's facility here in Stanislaus County, which we've been trying to do for the better part of 25 years. And again, all of what's happening right now is not only because of an improved economy, but a strong, supportive board of supervisors who also shares our vision of public safety and really focusing not only on protecting and serving the people and trying to hold people accountable for their criminal conduct and behavior, but there's a greater emphasis on early intervention, prevention, and education. So there's a lot of great things going on the backside of economic chaos. You're going to hear from a couple members of our Sting team, the sheriff's team investigating narcotics and gangs. We were able to deploy half the team. Again, as our staffing levels continue to improve, we'll deploy the other half of the team. Once I get closer to 215 rather than 172, we'll redeploy our community resource deputy program. So right now you do have a deputy sheriff assigned to Salida as staffing levels allow, but prospectively when we put our community resource deputy program back together, it'll be much like it was when I was the area commander here in Salida. and we had more than one or two that were dedicated to this community. So we're working on that. We're trying to maintain our staffing levels on patrol right now. We're doing pretty well. We've got 9 as minimum staffing on day shift, 5 on swings, and another 9 on graveyard. So between the hours of 3 or 2 in the afternoon or 3 in the afternoon until 3 in the morning, you've got 14 or 15 deputy sheriffs out there, not including our contract city resources. So things are getting much better than they've been at 140 at 172. So we'll continue to run recruitments and hire as the board supports us. So again, thank your board representative, Terry Withrow, has been very supportive of public safety. I sent out, emailed Catherine documents which are also available in the back, and briefly we'll go over the crime statistics in Salida for 2014-2015. And you were supposed to have gotten a 2-page document. I sent it to Catherine again, but there's a graphic that goes along with this, and this is for the entire county. And basically it shows that between 2010 and 2014, our violent crime in the county has ticked up, but our property crime is in decline, which is actually kind of interesting given the fact that addiction is still an epidemic. But here in Salida, your Part 1 and Part 2 crimes are flat. If you compare 2014 to 2015, 14 you had 423 reported crimes, and 15 429. So your Part 1 and Part 2 crime is flat. No worse, no better, which means that if you look at this and you compare yourselves to other communities in the county, it's a safe neighborhood. Now, what I appreciate about Salida is you have people like yourselves and like Catherine and others who are willing to get involved. You're willing to observe, report, you're willing to share information with us, you're not afraid of the bad guys, and that gives us an opportunity to identify the bad guys and take them out. So you'll hear from the Sting team tonight about the work they've been doing in Salida. You'll hear about some of the drug arrests and the narcotics arrests we've made, as well as taking firearms off the street, and a few other issues that we encounter specific to the gang members. And that's really the purpose of our Sting team. Again, it's the sheriff's team investigating narcotics and gangs. We're looking at gang activity countywide as well as street level narcotics. Now, things for public safety get a little challenging sometimes, especially when the state legislature wants to decriminalize everything. And of course, I'm sure everybody's heard about Proposition 47, right? You all voted no for that. I know for a fact 55% of the voters in Stanislaus County voted no, but thanks to the Bay Area and the LA Basin, they carried us to the finish line. And Proposition 47, which was a ballot initiative, ballot initiatives are funded by the ultra wealthy. Folks like you and I don't have the money to put an initiative on the statewide ballot. If you're interested in who funded that initiative, you can Google names like George Soros and Molly Munger. Those are individuals who believe in an open society, and they also believe that incarceration is no longer a deterrent to crime. Let them all go and put them in a program. In my opinion, it was an initiative that was disingenuously marketed to the voters in California. Anytime you title an initiative Safe Streets and Safe Schools, people are going to gravitate toward that without reading the fine print. Some of the effects of 47 include the fact that now the possession of dangerous narcotics, such as heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine, are all misdemeanors. They're not felonies anymore. If you steal a firearm in California, that used to be a felony. Now, if the firearm is worth less than $950, it's a misdemeanor. Prior to 47, if you entered a retail business with the intent to steal, you entered that business without any money, you took merchandise, you exited right past a point of sale and out the front door, that was called commercial burglary, a felony. Now it's shoplifting, a misdemeanor. So really they've taken a variety of criminal conduct and behavior related primarily to narcotics and property crimes, and they've made it all misdemeanor activity because the individuals who support this, along with some of the folks under the big white dome, again, believe that incarceration is not the answer. They don't want people incarcerated. They think it costs us, the taxpayers, too much money. But in my opinion, it completely ignores the victims of crime, and there's really no justice that's being served in holding people accountable. So law enforcement has to become adaptable, whether we like it or not, whether we as a community like it or not. It's something that we have to adapt and embrace, and that's exactly what we've done with expanding program opportunities in partnership with community-based organizations, and really trying to bring a greater focus to breaking cycles of addiction and violence. So I liken public safety in California to fly fishing in Montana, one of my all-time favorite things to do. It's all catch and release. So what I've told our team is, if you like to fish, keep catching them. Even though we release them, we're going to catch them again, and that's what we're going to continue to do. With respect to your calls per service, and again, I provided statistical information from our computer-aided dispatch system. And if you look at Salida calls for service in 2014 and 2015, your top two responses in Salida: EMS calls and residential burglary alarms. Those are your top two calls 2 years in a row. So you can take a look. False alarms, alarm calls, whether active or not, whether passive or not, whether real or not, we respond to them. So you can take a look at that, and again, I think it clearly demonstrates that Salida is a safe community. You're not immune from the challenges that the rest of us face, whether it's vandalism, destruction of property, narcotics-related activity, or otherwise. But again, I'm sure the Sting team will be very happy to share with you that they recently took a pound of meth off the street, along with a few guns. So we're taking care of Salida. I'm happy to answer any questions, because again, I don't want to capitalize on anybody else's time or the presentation that you're about to receive.
We do the board first for questions. Does any of the board have questions?
Can you update us on the murder?
The Wallacey murder?
Which one was that? No, I'm just kidding. The press release is out. It's not our case. The victim was not killed here. The victim was shot and killed in Phoenix, Arizona. The victim just happened to be transported by the suspect in his Uhaul, and the suspect's family lives here in Salida, so this was the destination point. We actually first contacted the suspect on a domestic violence call. He was arrested for domestic violence. We seized all of his firearms, some of which were illegal, and he went to jail. But after that, we got additional information that led us back to the Uhaul, and that's when we found the victim. And so we've worked directly with the Phoenix Police Department. The suspect is safely off the street, and the Phoenix Police Department is going to send their detective team out here to gather up a case that our team put together for them and take it back to Phoenix. So that's what happened. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got down the street. I had called and reported marijuana grow inside the business park on the corner of Kernan and the railroad tracks right there. With one of my cameras, we observed for about 3 nights in a row that individuals were going in and out of there, several different vehicles, some of them carrying in bags of ice, others probably something to drink. And when the wind came from the south, it was just flooding our house.
Yeah.
I know even the fire department was asking me, hey, who's growing the pot around there? Well, I firmly believe that it was coming out of one of those units inside that.
Probably true. Not illegal to grow marijuana in California unless you're growing it for sale. So 99 plants or less, the voters voted for Proposition 215. If you're growing 99 plants in your backyard, that's perfectly legal.
Oh, the smell of this, there has been a lot more than that.
Well, unfortunately, that's what the voters signed up for. And again, you're going to see probably at least 3 different ballot initiatives on the ballot in 2016, November of 2016, legalizing marijuana for recreational use in California. I urge all of you to vote no. Just take a look at what's happening in Colorado with respect to double-digit increases in impaired driving cases, double-digit increases in children being hospitalized for overdose because they get a hold of the edibles, which look like candy. Not to mention the health care consequences and costs associated with people who want to use marijuana. My position, if you're a terminally ill individual or you have some other medical affliction and you choose to smoke marijuana in the 4 square walls of your home, That's perfectly fine with me. You're protected by the Fourth Amendment. You can do whatever you want inside your home. But if you're growing marijuana for sale, for distribution, or for any other purpose that poisons our children, you're going to attract my attention. So we do every year eradicate marijuana in this county. We eradicate grows that are thousands of plants big. And despite our best efforts, we touch the tip of the iceberg when it comes to eradicating marijuana grows in the Central Valley.
Any other questions?
Anybody else? In the back, yes, sir.
Speaking to my son in Alameda last
Yeah, I'll get you, Mike.
Speaking to my son in Alameda last night, he said that the police cannot decide someone is suspicious and pull them over or stop them and investigate them unless someone that lives there calls and makes a complaint. Then the police can go check these people out. But he said that's how bad it is there, that unless they have a complaint from a citizen, they can't stop a person that's obviously a suspicious person. How does that work here?
Well, I can't answer for your son or the department he works for. That may be a department policy there. But our rules of engagement, again, the Fourth Amendment protects you from illegal search and seizure. So absent a vehicle code violation, a probable cause, reasonable suspicion that can be articulated in a report, no, we can't randomly and arbitrarily stop people. But if you're out cruising around in a neighborhood at night, blacked out, or you're someplace you're not supposed to be, or our deputy sheriffs see some reasonable suspicion or probable cause to believe a crime has been committed or is about to be committed, we will stop and we will investigate and we will do what we call a field interview. And if we don't find anything, if you're not on probation or parole or nothing illegal, at least we know who you are and what you were doing in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We still have to abide by the United States Constitution, so.
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm pretty loud, I don't need that. So in an instance, we have an ongoing issue at Suggestive Park.
Okay.
We see it daily, almost every 3 or 4 hours.
And what are we talking about?
Drug deals.
Okay.
And I call them in, and I know people around call them in. And if a sheriff is able to get out there during the day, it's kind of hard. But they're doing this when the kids are getting out of school. There'll be one car with 15 individual kids surrounding it. Sometimes it's busier than McDonald's with a drive-through. How do we, if we see it and you guys do your little field thing and you don't find anything yet, we're seeing it on a daily basis, what are we supposed to do?
Continue to observe and report. I'll tell you right now that if it's marijuana, you're going to have to ask yourself, where are the parents? Because juveniles are not going to go to juvenile hall for possession of marijuana. Are they adults?
There's some adults selling to juveniles.
Okay. And again, we have to be able to catch them doing it, or we have to be able to identify who's doing it. And if it's not committed in our presence, then it requires a citizen's arrest. And somebody's going to have to step up and say, I saw Mr. Smith, there he is, that's the guy selling narcotics to juveniles. And then we have to be able to identify what he was really selling. Most of the time, they're going to ditch their dope before we show up. So the best course of action for us is to conduct undercover investigations or surveillance, and I can tell you that that most likely will occur or has already occurred without getting into specific details.
Okay.
Okay. In the back, in the back, ladies and gentlemen, we have Lieutenant Mark Nuno. Raise your hand. That's Lieutenant Mark Nuno, who's one of our watch commanders, and then you'll get introduced to our fine sting team. And while I will tell you that narcotics is a rampant problem, addiction is an epidemic, if you continue to decriminalize the possession of narcotics like we're doing in this country, narcotics enforcement is literally going to come to a stop. Nobody's going to go to jail. We'd love to see your pictures. I'm sure one of those fine gentlemen in the back will talk to you before the night is over.
Okay. I'm not afraid of them.
Good. You shouldn't be. We should not be afraid of them. Anybody else? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.